Welcome to Funky Japanese. Today's topic is understanding Japanese passive voice. Do you know what is passive voice? Passive voice is a grammatical construction where the subject of the sentence receives the action of the verb rather than performing it. For example, instead of saying John ate the apple, John がリンゴを食べた。We can say the apple was eaten by John. リンゴはジョンに食べられた。So リンゴ is the subject in this case, and リンゴ was eaten by John. This is passive voice. Then, how to make it? We need verb stem plus reru or rareru to make passive form. As you might know, for verbs we have three types: Godan verbs, Ichidan verbs, and irregular verbs. Depends on the groups, the way to make passive voice is a little bit changed, so let's check it out. In my channel, I have a video for Ichidan verbs and Godan verbs, which explain how to conjugate each verbs. So, if you'd like to learn more about Ichidan verbs and Godan verbs, please check this video for your learning. The link is in the description. Okay, let's go back to the main video. For Godan verb, the stem is changed. For example, 読む is changed to 読まない、読みます、読んだ、読んで、読める。As you can listen, the vowel sounds 読む u sounds is changed to 読まない、読みます。I, u, e, o vowels. So these are Godan verbs. And for Godan verbs, to make passive form, we need negative form minus 9 plus der. So for example, the 読む negative form of 読む is 読まない。So 読まない minus 9 is 読ま and add れる。So 読まれる。読まれる is the passive form of 読む to read. And for Ichidan verbs, the stem isn't changed. For example, of the 食べる is changed to 食べない、食べます、食べて、食べよう。So for every form, we have 食べ. We call 食べ as stem. So we can just use verb stem, add られる to make passive form. So 食べる is changed to 食べられる。食べられる as can eat. Does this make sense? So, in order to make passive form, sometimes the vowel sound is different, but we need れる or られる. Please memorize this. Okay, next, let's talk about types of Japanese passive voice. We have three types for passive voice. First one is direct passive, which is 直接受け身 in Japanese. Second one, indirect passive, which is 間接受け身 in Japanese. And last one, suffering passive, 迷惑受け身 in Japanese. Let's deep into these. Direct passive occurs when the grammatical subject is directly affected by the action of the verb. For example, このビルは1990年に建てられた。このビルは1990年に建てられた。This building was built in 1990. In this case, the object of the verb to build is building. So, building, which is the subject, is directly affected by the verb, which is to build. We call this type direct passive. Second one, indirect passive. Indirect passive is a unique Japanese construction where the subject is affected by an action they are not directly involved in. For example, 私は赤ちゃんに泣かれた。私は赤ちゃんに泣かれた。I was affected by the baby crying. Or we can also say, I was cried by the baby. In this case, the subject of the verb to cry is baby. But I am the person who are affected by the action, which is to cry. So in this case, subject and verb is not directly affected. We have different subject. We have baby to cry, but I is the subject who are cried. We call this type indirect passive. Next one. Suffering passive. Suffering passive is a form of passive voice that expresses inconvenience, annoyance, or suffering caused by someone else's action. For example, 財布を盗まれました。財布を盗まれました。I had my wallet stolen. I get rid of I, which is 私は in this case, but we can also say 私は財布を盗まれました。As I had my wallet stolen. Because somebody stole my wallet, I am suffering caused by someone else's action. Maybe as you imagine, this is a little bit similar to second one, which is indirect passive. Because this case again, the subject of the verb, which is steal or stole, is not I. Somebody stole my wallet. But the subject of the sentence is I. So subject and verb is not directly affected. We have someone else who is doing the action. But we can think when we are suffering caused by someone else's action, then we can think it's suffering passive, not indirect passive. For example, when we receive the present, which is happy moment, then it's indirect passive, not suffering passive. So we have these three types for passive voice. I have two things that I would like to tell you as common mistake to avoid. First one, incorrect verb conjugation. The passive voice of to eat, 食べる, is not 食べれる. We need 食べられる, because 食べる is not Ichidan verb. 食べる is Godan Verbs, as we mentioned. For Godan Verbs, we need られる, not れる. When we say 私は納豆が食べれる, then that means I can eat 納豆. So when we say 食べれる, can eat. So don't use れる. Please make sure 食べられる for passive voice for eating. Next one is about particle confusion. When we wanna say, I am praised by friends, 私は友達を褒められた. That's not correct. Even though the action verb is 友達は私を褒める. We have to change to 私は友達に褒められた, not を. So when we make passive voice, we have to change the particle to に as by. So I was praised by friends. 私は友達に褒められた. And one more thing I'd like to tell you is about honorific expression. As a sing form, which is reru or rareru, we have also honorific expression. Honorific expression is a polite way of speaking that shows respect to the person you are talking about. For example, we can say, お客様が来られました。お客様が来られました。来られる could passive voice of 来る which is to come. But in this case, the meaning is the customer has come. It's not something is affected by the customer. In this case, we show the respect for our customer because in Japan, customer is in higher status than the restaurant staff or like hotel staff or whatever. So we use 来られる as honorific expression to show the respect to the person, in this case customer. To judge if it's passive voice or honorific expression, we can check the particle here. When we have ga as particles, then it's honorific expression. But when we have ni, for instance, お客様に褒められました, then that means I was praised by the customer, or we are praised by the customer. So when we have ga, then honorific expression, then when we have ni, which is by in English, then we can say it's passive voice. The action is affected by the customer. Okay, that's all for the explanation. So let's move on to the practice. Transform the following active sentence into passive voice. Then exercise number 1. 先生が学生を怒りました。The teacher scolded the students. How we can change? The answer is 学生は先生に怒られました。学生は先生に怒られました。The student was scolded by the teacher. Please make sure we have me, not を as particle, because we need by. 学生は先生に怒られました。Okay, next one. 弟が私のケーキを食べました。 My brother ate my cake. How we can change to passive voice? The answer is 私は弟にケーキを食べられました。I had my cake eaten by my brother. Or we can also say, my cake was eaten by my brother. In this case again, we need ni as by. We shouldn't put for when we have passive form. Just for information but when we make sentence, we usually get rid of I, which is 私. So instead of saying 私は弟にケーキを食べられました。We can just say 弟にケーキを食べられました。In this case also the subject is I, so even without saying 私は, people can understand the subject is I. Okay, then this is the summary and key points. In order to make passive voice or passive form, we need verb stem plus reru for Godan verb, and we need rareru for Ichidan verbs. And we have three types for passive voice: direct passive, indirect passive, and suffering passive. And lastly, we have to use ni for particles, not wo. This sounds very easy, right? Passive voice is not difficult once you get used to saying that. So, you just need to practice speaking. That's all for today's video. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please write a comment. Also, it will be appreciated if you could like this video and subscribe this channel. Then, see you at the next video. Bye bye. さようなら.